What is the most fatal mistake you have ever made in your career? Well, it was February and I was working for a multinational bank in London, and a colleague and myself were working night after night, very long hours, never left the bank before 10 or 11 p.m. at night. Yes, we were working on the bonus and we worked on all of those spreadsheets that kept coming through from HR and on all the figures for all levels of staff. And finally, we were at the last and most important spreadsheet, which was the bonus numbers for the top 10 people within transaction banking. Boy, that was like managing or handling a state secret. It was strictly and highly confidential. We worked on it, we sent it to our boss, possibly about 20 to 30 times. And every time the bell curve changed, every time we had to change the figures, and every time we had to make more and more adjustments. Till it was 11 o'clock at night, and our boss, Danny, said, "Guys, it's 11. Please go home. It's finished now. I've approved the numbers. Just send it to HR and leave." Yes, Danny. So we finished it and were sitting there having a sandwich and a coffee, yes, at 11 o'clock at night to try and keep awake. And Michael, my colleague, pressed the send button. For a moment, we both felt that time had just stopped. Because when we realized on the to line of Outlook, we realized that it had actually got sent to the management group. And anyone in the corporate world knows how many groups we have. Implementation, the sales group, marketing group, HR groups, the top management group. This was a pure accident. We were exhausted. But for that moment, we were frozen in time. And the tears just came automatically. We do not know whether those tears came because of fear or exhaustion or just plain giving up on life, giving up on everything. When you've done so much and there's this one mistake that can cost you everything. We couldn't recall the email because everyone from IT had left for the day. What should we do? I said to Michael, "It's an honest mistake. This could have happened to anyone. We are both exhausted." He said, "Gillian, you do not understand how fatal this is. There would be mass resignations. How on earth could I have done this?" I said, "We were both sending the sheets. It could have been me." But what could we do at that time? So, if this had happened to you, at that point in time, what would be your feelings and your reaction? Would you be ready to admit that this is something that had happened? Because we were thinking at the time, we could have said a hacker was on the system, we didn't send the email, we just do not know how it got sent to this team. We could have said a lot of things. But we didn't. We told the truth. We called our boss, Danny, and said, "We have sent the spreadsheet out to the top 10 people." And he went, "Mamma mia!" He didn't know what to do. We went home in tears. We hadn't slept all night. But then, let me ask you another question. Do you worry about what people may think of you once such a huge mistake leaks out? Oh, we sure did. It was very hard for the next few weeks. Our boss had to deal with so much, as you can well imagine. It was the bonus numbers of the top 10 people. But we knew that we could only get stronger by admitting our mistakes. Now, if this again was you, would you see your mistakes as failures or lessons? We decided to see this as a great learning curve. We decided to learn from it and to move on, but we were not going to quit. Now, what were the positives that came out of such an incident in our case? In my case, the positives were that I became much stronger at my job. I learned to take criticism. I learned to stand up for my mistakes. I learned to learn that I had made a fatal mistake, but I had to be a bit or a lot more careful. I learned that I should not be working when I was so exhausted. And I definitely learned how cruel people could be. So these last two lines of stick to the fight when you're the hardest hit, it's when things seem the worst that you mustn't quit. It isn't just about resilience in life. It is also about every single tough situation that we find ourselves in. And believe you me, sometimes those situations could be life-threatening in many respects. It was for me that night. It all boils down to the decisions we make and how confident we are to stand up and take responsibility for our actions. Michael and myself both received bonus checks and became the most famous people on the floor for quite a while. We have remained the best of friends. No one on that team has ever forgotten it, and neither will we. To your success.